Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Crack That, Turning Problems into Solutions. This is me Priyasha Das, and today in this video we'll be taking up some advanced TITA questions on the para jumbles and would be solving some questions mentioned in the practice PDF 3 right there in the description box. But before that, let me quickly tell you about the Unacademy's Champion League, which is for all the CAT 2022 aspirants, absolutely free. Yes, that's the biggest gift from Unacademy to all the CAT aspirants, where you can give a completely in paper pattern question of CAT 2022, 66 questions in 120 minutes, which will be live on 24th of April, 12:30 p.m. Now, what are the benefits of giving this? You can actually consider this as an early mock and try to give this test right away, because if you give this test right now when you have actually just started with your preparation or not even thought of it, you would get to know the areas which you are able to answer without preparation, and you will get to know the areas in which you are doing terribly, so that you can dedicate the remaining months of your preparation to that area and would try to come out with flying colors in the real examination. And along with all these mock benefits, you are also getting a chance to win up to 100% scholarship and amazing gift prizes like MacBook Air, iPhone XR, and Apple AirPods. So why are you missing out on this golden opportunity, guys? A mock test which you would be purchasing anyhow later in the time, you are now getting it absolutely free, and along with it you are also getting access to the 4 days workshop which will be associated with the UCL. And if you use the link in the description box and enroll using my code Priyasha10, you would also get access to the 4 days workshop, which will be sectional workshops where the teachers will come and teach you the tips and the strategies to ace the sectionals, and one last day will be the topper session who will be sharing his insights to crack the examination accurately. So all of this is provided to you by Unacademy absolutely free. So do not miss this opportunity and use the link in the description box to enroll yourself into this completely free test and completely free workshops. Now let's get our video started. Hello everyone. So in this video, we'll be discussing few more TITA questions on para jumbles. This is a session 4 on para jumbles, and I will be also attaching these questions in the practice PDF number 3 right there in the description box. So if you want, you can first download that, do all these questions by yourself, and then you can check the answers in this video and the process of which I have solved this question. TITA based questions are a bit confusing when it comes to para jumbles, because we do not have options which would help us to guess the opening or the closing sentence or the framing by any chance. So that's why in the TITA questions, the first attempt should be upon figuring out which is the major theme of the entire paragraph, and the second step will be to find out the concluding and the opening sentences. So we'll use the same tricks in doing the first question over here. In the first question, we see that the first line opens up with a cerebral palsy patient with little body coordination. She gives up and falls resignedly in a heap on the floor. So here we see we are talking about a she. We don't know who this she is, so possibly A is not going to be my opening sentence. See, this is a very childish way of doing it, but you can actually arrange 5 dashes and try to figure out which dash will be filled by which sentence, because that will be helping you somewhere or the other to determine the TITA based answers better. Now we'll move to the option or the sentence B. But the doctor by her side refuses to relent. So but is a change of idea, and these kind of connectors will never be the opening, but surely between the change of two ideas. Next comes C. She just has to try again and again. The doctor hollers, you must walk, you can, you will. She is again the pronoun, and so surely not the first opening sentence. So ABC is what I'm not going to open my sentence with. Then we'll move down to D. She barely succeeds, faltering at every step. Aha, again a she, that means D is not our first sentence. So automatically my opening sentence becomes the sentence E, which is introducing us to 𝗜παι𝘃𝗶𝗁, a noun. A charming 5-year-old is trying to walk. So it's very easy to determine the opening sentence for this particular para jumble. And after that, I know that since I am being introduced to 𝗜παι𝘃𝗃𝗁, I will be connecting a sentence which will be talking about 𝗜παι𝘃𝗃𝗁. But we see that there are 3 sentences having she in it. So A, C and D can really be a connecting point for this answer. But we'll try to figure out what is more in connection. Now here we are talking about a cerebral palsy patient with little body coordination. Now we will be coming out to this point only when we know that what is the problem being faced by 𝗂𝗲. So to find out the problem being faced by 𝗂𝗲, we have to determine what will come just next. Just next is that she barely succeeds, faltering at every step. So that's the problem which 𝗂𝗲 is facing right now. The problem which she is facing is that she cannot walk properly. So therefore, this is the major concern of 𝗂𝗲, who is trying to walk. Trying to walk and succeeding and faltering at every step is a connecting link. And thereon I'll try to figure out what more is written. Option A is talking about her ailment or her disease that she is suffering from. So that is another connecting point which will help me connect the trio EDA. Why is that so? Because D says that she is not able to walk, and then A says that the reason why she is not able to walk, that's cerebral palsy. Now we come down to the change of idea. Of course, the change of idea will always be supported by what? Always be supported by a reason, a example. So of course, since I'm left with only B and C, I'll have to mention B first and then C, because B depicts the change of idea, or B depicts how her doctor is refusing to relent, and then a line supporting that what the doctor says. How is he refusing to relent? By saying this line, you must walk, you can, you will. And that brings me up to the answer of this question, which is EDABC. I can confirm my answer using the links which I have tried connecting. Of course, there are not options which you can second or double cross or secondly check, but surely you can use a little bit of brains here and there and just see that what you thought of is actually sounding correct to your ears or not. So that's what you will do in this question. For this was the answer for the first one. For the second one, let's read this. The first sentence says 2 bags of silver or 1 crore is but a marker. What do you find here? Are these number denotions? Yes, they are number denotions. Moving next, we see that it tells you little about the event, about the nature of the transaction. It, pronoun, we will not start with that. It necessitates, again an it, we will not start with C either. It necessitates the storyteller who is ironically juxtaposed to the policy maker breathing reform. The fourth one says corruption demands narrative. Looks like an independent sentence. Corruption is one discourse that always demands anecdotes. Looks another very promising introductory statement. Numbers alone seem inadequate. Now here, one number is associated with another number. So I can make a pair very well. See, of course, I can make 6 dashes, but I can make a pair first that F will always go with a, because numbers alone seem inadequate is best supported by an example where we are saying 2 bags of silver or 1 crore is but a marker. So F and A are surely going together, no doubt in that. Now the major concern is regarding selecting D or E as the opening sentence. So whether we should go with D as the opening sentence or E as the opening sentence. So when you are in confusion, leave that for a while and try to create another connections. If I read the sentence E, that is corruption is one discourse that always demands anecdotes. Anecdotes are examples. Okay. And here we are talking about corruption demands narratives. Narratives are somewhere or the other related to story, and here is a relation between story and a storyteller. So can I say that D is preceded by C or C follows D? Yes, that would be right. So I can make another pair, that is DC, and surely in my answer I'll have one pair of FA and one pair of DC, where DC says corruption demands narratives. It necessitates the storyteller who is ironically juxtaposed to the policy maker breathing reform. But this can be a very essential thing here. If you read the sentence C and you realize that the author is actually trying to sum up the entire passage about corruption in a line stating that since it requires narratives and it necessitates the storyteller who is ironically juxtaposed to the policy maker breathing reform, It's actually summing up the entire idea that this corruption is little about the event but more about the nature of the transaction. So the entire idea is summing up, and in a sentence which sums up the entire idea, it sounds like a concluding sentence to me. All right, where whatever I was discussing about corruption, I was discussing about numbers, its examples, it being supported by a story. Everything is summed up in sentence C. So looks like sentence C is surely my concluding one. And if it is, then the second last sentence is already ready, which is D. Now the major confusion between the opening sentence was E and D, and now since I have given D as the second last position, I'll go and put up E in the first place. That means I'll start with corruption is one of the discourse that always demands anecdotes. Now after it, the numbers will play an important role, but I will say that numbers seem to be inadequate. Anecdotes are examples, as I told you. So one such example can be numbers, but here they are stating that numbers alone are not inadequate. Because of this reason, and we are just left with one blank to fill, and that is the sentence B. Now how will we confirm our answer? Reading it in that way. So let's read it that way. Corruption is one discourse that always demands anecdotes. Numbers alone seem inadequate because the numbers are related to anecdotes. 2 bags of silver, 1 crore is but a marker is an example related to the numbers, and then it tells you a little about the event. What tells you a little about the event? These numbers. These numbers tell you a little about the event, about the nature of the transaction, and then I'll state again that corruption not only requires anecdotes but also requires narratives, and then an example stating or concluding whatever we said so far. So that confirms my answer as EF ABDC for the second question. Seems to be a confusing and a lengthy one, but yes, I just wanted to repeat these questions with you because these are from the easy intermediate to the difficult advanced level. So yes, that's why I have come up with 4 sessions on para jumbles, of course. Now there's the last question for the day. Question number 3 says, in fact, the opposite is true. More nuclear weapons mean more danger. Of course, not the first line. Why? Because in fact, the opposite is true. Which opposite are we talking about? There is increasing evidence that the first strike strategies are no longer a military option but have become central to the American defense policy. In such a situation, each new missile maker makes nuclear war more likely. That's an evidence. Of course, not my opening sentence for sure. Right? All right. Moving next. Over the past few years, an alarming change in the American defense policy has been noticeable, a trend towards a nuclear arsenal aimed not at retaliation but at the first strike. First strike, first strike. Connection. Do you find any connection between C and B? I do. C follows, or C is followed by B. Now, nuclear weapons do not increase our security as the military establishment would have us believe. They merely increase the likelihood of global destruction. The threat of nuclear war is the greatest danger humanity is facing today, but is by no means the only one. So this statement is more of a conclusion type statement, a justification for whatever we were talking about related to the nuclear weapons. So of course, I got my concluding statement, that is D. So if I fill up 5 spaces here, D will surely take up the last space. Now, in the United States, where the military-industrial complex has become an integral part of the government, the Pentagon tries to persuade us that building more and better weapons will make the country safer. Of course, the country is trying to persuade people. In fact, the opposite is true. So that means I know that I can start with E, stating that the country is asking us to make and invest more and more in the nuclear weapons. But the author's point of view says that it is in fact opposite. So I got FA connected, EA connected to each other in the first and the second place, and I have D at the end. Now I need to just place this combo of CB right here in the middle, because I have already decided that C will come before B. And when then concluding my answer, I'll just read it all over again, that in the first sentence, that is sentence E, the United States is trying to persuade its people that it is safer, it will make our country safer if we invest more in the nuclear weapons. But in fact, it is absolutely true. That statement will come second, and then it will try to establish the reason why we are saying that it is the opposite is true. The reason for that being is that the first strikes over the past few years, the example of first strike, and that has been an evidence of American defense policies changes leading to more nuclear war conditions. And last statement is a conclusive statement which completely establishes the threat of the nuclear war. And that is the answer for this third question, EACBD. And that's how you will confirm your answer, by reading it all over again. And that was all about this video, guys. If you like this video, then do like this video, share it with more and more people. And if you are new to this channel, then please subscribe to this channel. And this was all about the para jumbles. I had 4 sessions in which I discussed the normal questions, the TITA based questions from easy level to the middle difficulty, to this kind of advanced questions as well. I'll be practicing that later at a time, but for more such practice questions, you can also follow me on Unacademy, the link of which will be there in the description box, and join my live classes there, because there I'll be practicing more and more different types of questions related to the same topic. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and please take care of yourself.